Hi, welcome to Bookie. Today we'll unlock the book The Body Keeps the Score: Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. Let's first hear a story. Marilyn was a tall, athletic-looking woman in her mid-30s who worked as a nurse. She met a fireman named Michael while playing tennis at the sports club, and the two began a relationship. They often talked about tennis and movies together. Marilyn said that she usually avoided men, but this relationship gradually made her feel comfortable. As they got closer, one Saturday evening, Marilyn invited Michael to stay over at her apartment. She described feeling uptight and unreal as soon as they were alone together, having very little sense of what would happen next. After a few glasses of wine and several episodes of a TV show, they fell asleep together in bed. At around 2 a.m, when they were fast asleep, Michael turned over. When Marilyn felt his body touch hers, she exploded, pounding him with her fists, scratching and biting, screaming, "You bastard, you bastard." Michael startled awake, grabbed his belongings and fled. After he left, Marilyn felt deeply humiliated and hated herself for what she had done. So she turned to the therapist Bessel Van der Kolk for help in dealing with her terror of men and her inexplicable rage attacks. So why did Marilyn act like that? After several treatments, Van der Kolk found that Marilyn had never been able to let go of her childhood experience of sexual assault by her father. In fact, on many occasions, even if things have changed and time has long passed, we may still go out of control due to some tiny danger signals that trigger our horrible memories. People often think that it's all in one's head, but the book The Body Keeps the Score suggests that psychological trauma actually has a physiological basis. So what are the physical and psychological effects of trauma? What does the body have to do with trauma? How can it be treated? This book will give us the answers. The author of this book is Bessel Van der Kolk, who is the world's best-known master of trauma treatment. He is the founder and medical director of the Trauma Center in Brookline in the United States, a professor of psychiatry at Boston University Medical School and director of the National Complex Trauma Treatment Network. With more than 30 years of experience in cutting-edge research and clinical practice in the field of psychological trauma, he is an expert in both medication and psychotherapy, with a creative insight on trauma. He also frequently conducts in-depth exchanges and cooperation with all the founders of major trauma treatments in the United States. As one of the authorities in the field of psychological trauma treatment, his theory has greatly influenced the mainstream approaches to trauma treatment today. In this bookie, you will embark on a 3-part journey of learning about trauma and its healing. Part 1: The physical and mental symptoms of trauma. Part 2: The physiology behind the unforgettable trauma. Part 3: Tradition and innovation in the field of trauma treatment. Let's look at Part 1: The physical and mental symptoms of trauma. Psychological trauma is a difficult topic to deal with, often filled with indescribable anger, shame, fear, violence, and all intense emotions that we are unwilling to touch. Generally speaking, psychological trauma refers to the abnormal physical, mental, and emotional states caused by severe traumatic events. This abnormal state can be cured automatically after a period of self-adjustment, but the effects of some psychological trauma can last longer or even a lifetime. For severe psychological trauma, it is defined as post-traumatic stress disorder in the classification of psychological and psychiatric disorders. Let's start with the earliest stage of life, childhood, and see what far-reaching damages early trauma can leave us physically and mentally. When we enter this world as an infant, it is our mother who nurtures us with sweet milk and touches us with gentle fingers. The intimate skin-to-skin contact makes the baby feel extremely warm and safe. During this time, the mother satisfies almost all the needs of the baby and they form an initial attachment. Based on thousands of hours of observations of mother-child behavior, American scientist Ainsworth concluded that to meet their own basic needs, children develop 3 attachment patterns: secure attachment, avoidant attachment,